All right, fantastic. So we're going to get started here. So I just want to introduce myself. My name is Kyle. I work on our gap year team based here in the Boston area out of our office in Cambridge, Mass. And predominantly I work with students that are considering programs and working with their students and families to just help them navigate that process and get them set up on the best program for them. And then ultimately start the process when they can get out and travel to all these cool places that you're going to hear about this evening. So tonight is really cool, really special. We have 4 alumni who just came back from their gap year. So they are back to the States basically a week and a half from wrapping up on their entire year, crisscrossing the globe, hanging out with a lot of people, making a lot of new friends and moments along the way. So tonight is really all about hearing from them. And we, as a gap year team, we hear all the time from parents, from students of wanting to just get, what is it like? What's it actually like out on program? And what are the thoughts and, emotions and decisions and the planning that goes into making something like this happen? So our alumni have volunteered their time tonight. We're going to get to know them in just a second. And hopefully from this evening, you can walk away and get a better sense if you're someone that's considering a gap, maybe you're already enrolled and wanting to get a little bit more information about your program when it's coming, or maybe you just want to hear some cool stories from these folks for tonight. So hopefully what this can be is a good launch pad to, if it makes sense, to take that step and connect with our team and speak with your gap year consultant to help you figure out your own plan. And I can help when we'll wrap up with some ways to be able to do that easily at the end. All right, enough of that. Let's get to the cool people that are not me speaking. So we're going to get to know our alumni first, and then we're going to jump into some questions, some Q&A. You're going to get a chance to ask these folks really anything that's on your mind. So who do we have batting lead off today? Jared, can you introduce yourself to everybody?
Yeah, of course. So I'm Jared Singer. My family, we just moved to Seabright, New Jersey, but I'm originally from New York. And as you can see, I did my language in Nice in France, my service in Costa Rica, and my internship in Sevilla in Spain.
Awesome, Jared. And could you just add, if you want to add any notes on this photo, and could you share one highlight from your year to start us off with?
Yeah, that photo, I'm pretty sure, was taken in Ecuador. There was one day when we were in Baños, where we were driving around, there was like 3 different waterfalls, all on like the same road. So we were driving down this road, just stopping at each of these waterfalls. One of them, we like took a cable car like across. I remember there were certain people, maybe someone in this panel, who was sort of freaking out on that cable car. But it was a really great day being able to see, Ecuador is such a beautiful country. And highlights from the year is really, really difficult to pick. But when I was in Nice, I brought, language school is really only 3-4 hours a day. So I would either before or after class bring my lunch to the beach, sit there on the promenade, read my book, listen to the guy play guitar. He was there every day. I was there every day. So yeah.
Amazing. Awesome way to start us off. Thank you, Jared. Anna, can you give us a little background on yourself?
Hi, I'm Anna Buckles. I'm from Aurora, Colorado. And as y'all can see, I was in Rome for my language. I did Costa Rica for service, and then I was in Dublin for my internship. In this picture, you can't really see, but I was at the Blarney Castle in Cork, Ireland. And that's where you like lean back and like hold and the railing and kiss the stone. So it's really awesome to be able to get to do that. But I would say a highlight from the gap year would definitely be I got to spend my 19th birthday in the Galapagos Islands. And I conquered my fear of snorkeling at this amazing lagoon type thing. And that was just so fun. And everybody sang me happy birthday. And it was just something to remember for sure.
Sounds amazing. Sounds memorable. Awesome. Hunter.
Hi, I'm Hunter Bershte, and I'm from Madison, Connecticut. And my language was in Malaga, Spain. My service learning was in the Dominican Republic. And my internship was in Sevilla, also in Spain. This photo is at the beautiful Ashridge House that we get to have our leadership academy at. So this was actually right before the final dinner. So me and some of my friends I made on the trip decided to have like a little photo shoot right before we left just to like capture the moment. And if I had to pick one highlight from the year, it was probably monitoring manatees in the Dominican Republic. Basically, like we were like going down this like canal and we were like looking all over for like this little buoy that marked where the manatee was, and we finally found it. And then we got to see its head poke out, and then it actually swam like right up to the boat because they're like really curious, and we got to see like the whole body, like literally within like feet of us. It was really incredible.
Hope we get to hear a little bit more about that too.
Yeah.
That's awesome, Hunter. Rachel.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rachel. I'm from River Forest. It's right outside of Chicago. And as you can see, I did my language in Rome, service in the Dominican Republic, and I had my internship in Dublin. For this picture, I was at the Guinness factory, which was really fun. It was like at the top, you could see all of Dublin, which was really, really cool. For a highlight, I also got to spend my birthday on the trip, and I got to end it in London. It was really nice being, just ending the trip off in London and then having a free day that day. So we just got to, walk around and just have make really good memories on my birthday. So yeah.
Fantastic. All right, perfect. Well, excited to get a chance to meet all of you. We're going to turn screen share off. We're just going to keep tonight casual, open conversation and really give everybody a chance to share some more about their entire year because we know a lot happened. So I think the best way for us to approach this is to start and really just go chronologically through your process to actually go through the year. So I think if we can start and hear a little bit about first why you even decided to take a gap year in the first place. And what were some things that maybe you were thinking about or considering, or even if there was challenges as you were wrestling with this idea. And we can really just go popcorn style here. So if anybody wants to just, flash back to maybe around this time last year or last spring, as you're thinking about this decision or finalizing it, what got you to the point where you actually wanted to take a gap year?
For me, I think it's because during high school, our senior year was kind of at the height of COVID. And so we were all like, oh, it's, we're all online, and we didn't really get to end it off nicely. And so for me, it really affected if I really was ready for college. So I was looking at gap years because I personally just wasn't ready, and I just wanted to look into other options. And when I fall upon this one, it was pretty awesome because you got to travel the world. And I was really worried about not being in the same class as my the same class as this people the same age. But then I realized that it's okay. I'll be doing really cool stuff while they're starting school. So yeah.
For me, that was definitely a big. For me, that was definitely a big part of it. Having to go through the end of junior year and then all of senior year through COVID, grinding to really finish high school, do SATs and stuff like that, doing the whole college process. But there were so many reasons for me. I have been able to travel a lot already before this year, and I mean, you will not have the opportunity to travel like this ever again, because after college you're going to start work. To travel to so many countries in 1 year, you will not have this opportunity again. And I also, grinding through high school and doing doing college applications and SATs, I kind of wanted a break before going to college and grinding again, so it was just a good way to do something for myself and see the world.
And I think I was more of the opposite of Jared. I traveled a lot inside the US, but I'd never traveled internationally before. And I struggled a lot in high school, grades wise and things like that. And so I think I just realized that taking a year off and really being able to see the world was something I would have put top of my list, things I want to do, compared to immediately rushing into school, because I had so many friends that didn't really want to go to college right away, didn't really want to go and do classes anymore. They wanted to break as well, but they didn't really see any other option. And so it was nice to be able to take a step back and be whoa, no, I am only 18 years old. I can just take a break. I'm allowed to. This is a thing you are allowed to do. And I actually tried to decide between EF gap year and another gap year program where you did more like theater stuff. But then I ultimately just fell in love with EF and decided like I want to spend my time just really trying to figure myself out. And EF just was the perfect program for me.
I guess for me, I was like the complete opposite of Anna. Like taking a gap year had like never even crossed my mind. But then in the spring, like the school I wanted to go to only had room for me like next year. So they were like, if you want to come here, you have to take a gap year. So I was like scrambling, like early summer, I was scrambling looking like for like a bunch of different things. And then I came across this program and I was like, oh, like this seems like really cool. I'll get to like see new places. I'll get to fill up some time before I start my year. But it wasn't like something that super like jumped out at me, like something that would like change my life. But like by the end of the year, like it really, really like did change my life. Like I got to see places I never would have seen, like make all these like incredible memories with people that I never even would have met. Like even already, I'm already planning on like trying to like see some of my friends from the program that I made this summer. So I guess it just goes to show that like this program like brings in like so many different people for so many different reasons, but for like everybody, it like is so meaningful to them.
That's great. Yeah, we were scrambling to get Hunter a spot late in the game to make it work, but luckily it
Very
did.
late, very late.
How about, can you guys chat a little bit? So I think you probably all can at least relate to this if you didn't directly feel it, but what were some of the emotions that you were working through, right? Whether that was, uncertainty or feeling like maybe you were doing the wrong thing by taking a gap year, or maybe some of your friends that were going a different path. Like what sort of emotions or maybe like pressures or feelings do you feel like you had to work through in order to actually, get either comfortable or get set up to actually go on program?
To be completely honest, even like it was 3:30 in the morning, like here in Colorado, and my flight was leaving at 5:30 to go to Boston. And I was sitting in my room, like with my parents, like hysterically crying, like, what if I made the wrong choice? What if this is not right for me? And my mom was unpacking my suitcase because it was overweight. And I was just freaking out. Um, so it was like an immediate jump of like, I was freaking out for so long of, oh my God, all my friends are going to college, like family members I would talk to, like, are you sure? Like, really? Like, are you sure you don't want to go to college? Like, that seems like something you should just do. Like, that's just what happens. And so there were so many people I felt like doubting me almost in like my choice of doing this. So it caused me so much anxiety, like literally like I said, like it was 3:30. Like I was sitting in my room, like right here, like, oh my God. But I got to the airport, I stopped crying, thankfully, and I like immediately like met such amazing people from the program who are in the same boat as me. And I felt like it was such a game changer of being like, okay, like not everyone in this program is confident in this. Like everyone is scared, everyone's nervous, nobody is 100% like this is the right choice for me. And so it made me feel so much better and so much more reassured knowing that I wasn't alone in like my uncertainty of this. But then as soon as I got to Boston, I knew like this is the right choice. I'm so happy in my decision for this.
It's
Great
funny.
story, Anna.
It's funny because again, I was sort of the opposite. I went to a pretty small high school and it was pretty competitive, even though it was a public school, and everyone there, they go to college. Like people taking a gap year was kind of unheard of there. And there were a few of my teachers, there were a few of my friends that were like, is that the right thing to do? Like, it seems weird that you're not going to college. Like, what are you going to do when you get there and you're a year older? But to me, that really didn't matter. Like, I knew that I was making the right choice. It was something that I was doing for me. I knew I loved traveling. And of course I have my worries. I don't want to really call them doubts, but there's of course nerves. You're going there's maybe like 2 people on our trip who came with a friend from home, but pretty much everyone was a stranger when we got to Boston. And so, yeah, of course you're nervous about that. Like if you're not nervous, like who wouldn't? But I mean, you have to go into this knowing, yeah, it's nerve wracking, but you're going to meet people. You're taking this gap year with a bunch of other people. Like, you just have to reassure yourself that like, it's going to be okay. Like, I was definitely nervous again, but being able to travel and, I did have, most importantly, my parents supported me through this whole thing. you know, they thought it was a great idea for me to do something for myself. And even a teacher from my high school who I was very close with, who wrote me a recommendation letter, she was saying that this was a great thing for me to do. So I did, even though there were people that maybe thought this wasn't a great idea, the most important people to me told me it was. And I was able to say, well, no, I think you're wrong.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like I was really nervous, like Anna was, like literally like right before I signed up, I was like emailing like my college's admission person being like, is there still room for me? Is there still room for me? And they said there wasn't. And I think that was probably one of the best things that happened, you know, because it meant I was able to have this opportunity to take this gap year. And yeah, going to Boston, I was like really nervous. I was like, what if I don't like click with anybody and I'm just like traveling the world alone? Like I don't have any friends. But like you slowly start to gravitate towards like the people that you have stuff in common with, that you make friends. And even like during the year, sometimes I was like, am I supposed to be in school right now? Like, was this like still the right choice? But then like at some point during the year, it just like clicks. And for me, it was like in the Dominican Republic during my service, like just at night. You were there, Rachel, right? Yeah, you were there in the DR. I'm sorry, I sometimes forget who was where because you meet so many people. But like it was like Rachel and some other people that I gotten really close with, and we were just all like sitting there after like the long day at service. We were at this project called the Dream Project where we like help teach little kids all day. Very, very tiring work, very exhausting work. But I was back then, I would just be like sitting with all of these people that like I would have never met if it wasn't for this gap year, but I just felt like so comfortable and like so at home with them. And I guess that was when I knew like I had made the right choice, and like the nerves kind of from there kind of just went away. And the rest of the year I was like really able to be in the moment, which was awesome.
Yeah, I completely agree with what everyone said. I was just nervous as well, like starting over completely, trying to like going to Boston and like getting on traveling by yourself, like without your family. Everything's just so overwhelming. But then you meet so many new people when you start off this trip, and everybody's in the same boat as you. And then you like everyone just you gravitate towards your friend group, that you make new friends, and then it just the whole trip just I I'm so glad that I made this choice because I don't know, I just met I've met tons of different kind of people. And also I was nervous because I like had this like fear of missing out of like because everyone else was going to college and I was doing something different, and I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to relate to like my friends going to college and what they were doing. But I ended up like they were texting me during my trip and they were like, I wish I was there with you. Like they were the ones that like had the fear of missing out with me. So I'm so glad that I chose to go on the trip.
Rachel, I see everybody else nodding their head. How long did it take for your friends to all text you and say, wait, why didn't I do this too? Right?
Literally, it was like in the middle of like the beginning, like the European immersion. It was like a week in. They were all like, I wish I was in Europe with you. And I was like, yeah, you do. So yeah.
Cool.
For me,
That's
it
awesome.
was in Costa Rica. I felt like I was like laying on the beach, like getting our days off from service, and all my friends were like literally in the middle of like studying for finals and midterms and things like that. And they were like, this is not fair. Like you are literally like having like drinking coconut water out of a coconut like on the beach. Like, why did I not do this?
Yeah, some of my friends were texting me too when I was in Costa Rica, but I think the person who was most jealous was my dad, because I would
Yeah.
be sending my parents, I'd be sitting on the beach in Nice in the middle of a work day, and I'd just be sending a photo. We were in Costa Rica, we were in this beautiful national park on this amazing beach, sending a photo, the mountains in Ecuador, all these places I'm sending my dad photos. And he always just sent me like a middle finger, F you, like
Rubbing it in for him.
No, yeah, like I'd be like sending a Snapchat, like a selfie, like on the beach in the morning, like at 11 in like the DR or something, I don't know. And then like my friends would be up in like California at like 2 or 3 a.m. studying for their finals.
Yeah.
So that's when, yeah.
Funny to see some of those contrasts. Yeah. Awesome. How about just last question on this topic, which is, the planning, the thinking about gap year, the making the decision about going with EF. Um, was there anything else as you guys were processing those? And I think you made some good points of like talking with your parents and dealing with a lot of these emotions. But was there anything else that you think is really important to maybe translate or to share with some folks tonight that are going through this process right now and making some of those, asking themselves questions and having conversations with family and thinking about if this is the right program or if a gap year in general is the right program. Is there anything else that you might offer to them in terms of like advice or guidance or reassurance that you think they should just know?
Well, the one thing I would say is that this is like a once in a lifetime opportunity. College will always be there. Like, this is 1 year that you can take to travel the world, and then you can go to college after, or whatever your plan is after. It will always be there. This will not. Like, you had like you're once the one opportunity is to travel young, and then you have the rest of your life to do whatever. Just this, you have this opportunity now, and it's really worth taking it.
Yeah, I would really agree with that. Doing something for yourself, taking this year, doing it for yourself, and because this is going to be a year of like real personal growth and change and real personal development. And like, of course, like I'm going to be honest, like, of course there's going to be difficulties. There's going to be times where you're going to say, I can't do this anymore. This is so difficult. I'm living in a foreign country. I don't speak the language, blah, blah, blah. But, you got to keep pushing yourself. You push and you push and you push. And I think all four of us can walk away saying that this was the best year of our lives. And what the best thing is, whenever you're going through those times, and believe me, you will go through those times, one, you'll come out stronger, but also everyone around you, all of these people who you've been traveling with the whole year, who are becoming your best friends, are going through the exact same thing you are. In each location, you're going to have these people at your side, and they're going through this change, and they're having the same difficulties you are. So you always have just such a great support system, like right there. So it will be difficult, but if you push through, if you really, you only get what you give into it. So if you really keep pushing and you put your all into this, this is going to be the best year of your life.
Yeah, I really agree with that, Jared. And one other thing I would say is that like you have to remember, like 1 year in the grand scheme of things, like isn't a lot of time. Like you're gonna be like 1 year older when you start college if you decide to go to college after. Like nobody's gonna think that's weird. Like I remember being really worried about like, oh my God, I'm gonna be so old. Everybody's gonna be like, what did he do for a year? Like, but it's not actually a big deal. So don't let that fear of like people thinking it's weird afterwards, like deter you from like making this decision, because people won't. First off, so many people are taking gap years these days. So many people are older. And also it's like, it's not a big deal. And if somebody does judge you for it, like you'll know why you did this by the end of it. Like, and you'll have so much to say about all the amazing things you did that shouldn't deter you from taking on this.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what everyone said. It's one of those things that it is that FOMO at first of seeing your friends go to school. And even like the summer before I took the gap year, it was kind of interesting for me because I was working and, trying to save up for this trip and budget and things like that while my friends were meeting their roommates and picking out dorm supplies and things like that. And so you do kind of feel this like weird sense of like, oh my God, should I be doing this? Like, should this be something that I should be doing? But it's so great to just keep reminding yourself, like, you have time. Like, it's such a good perspective of like taking a gap year. Like, you gain that perspective of like, you have time, especially people in other countries, they take things so much slower, I feel like, than in America. And you really learn like, oh my gosh, like I said, like I'm 18, I can do this. I have 50 years. I have so much time left in my life. Like I do not need to go to college right now. And I did see like in the chat, somebody asked, will it be difficult to transition to college after a gap year? And I know all four of us actually are going to college after this across the US. And we're all doing the same things that my friends were doing last summer. Right now, we're falling back into that routine of like, okay, got to start thinking about school, got to start, like studying up, learning what we need to do for our college. And it's such an easy flow back in. At first, it can feel tough because you're like, oh my gosh, like I miss being in another country. I miss my friends. I miss the gap year. But once you start like getting back into college, it's a pretty easy transition.
Great points, everybody. And I'm glad you brought that up. Could we just swing around really quick before we talk a bunch more program specifics? Just mention, what your college plans are, and did you defer and apply during senior year, or did you apply during your gap year? What was your process? Just real quick.
Yeah.
Her or all of us?
Everybody, just you can all swing around real quick. That'd be great.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
You're good, Jared.
Thanks, Jared. I'm choosing between two schools right now. I'm choosing between the University of Missouri and Ithaca College. And I actually did apply on the gap year. I was in Costa Rica. I was in Dublin, like grinding out my essays, things like that. And it seems daunting, but it really isn't. Like, it's just one of those things you can just like sit down and do in like a day, and really get it going. And it's not anything to really feel stressed about.
So I'm going to Boston University in the fall, and actually when I toured way back, like just before COVID hit in 2020 in February, and I even knew then junior year that I was taking a gap year. So Kyle and I met with him when I was in Boston, which now seems like it was just a few months ago, but that was like 2.5 years ago now. But I did all of my college stuff before actually, and I did early decision to BU. It was my first choice, and then I got in and I just deferred for the year. I mean, like Anna said, it's not difficult doing the college apps during the gap year. That like most people didn't worry about it and they were doing it in Costa Rica or whatever, or into the DR. And now with Common App like that, college application is so much easier. But personally, I would suggest getting all the college stuff out of the way. Again, if you don't want to go to college, I mean, that's totally fine. But if you know you're going to college and you know where you want to go, I would suggest getting that out of the way, because I mean, there are times where you're going to have downtime and, you can get that out of the way. But I mean, when I'm in Costa Rica and I could be going to the beach or going to the pool and just hanging out with friends, I mean, I would rather be doing that than doing college apps. So if you know where you're going to be applying, I would suggest just doing that now so you don't have to worry about it when you're in Costa Rica, maybe have spotty Wi-Fi or something like that.
Yeah, so I totally agree with Jared. Like that, like you could go either way. Like I know people that did it, like Anna, and applied during the year, and they like most of them were totally fine. Like obviously, there's that normal level of stress that you get when applying to college, but everybody that I know that was applying got it done. So in terms of myself, I'm going to the University of Chicago, and I applied like before the gap year, and I got into the University of Chicago with deferred admission, meaning they basically told me that if I wanted to attend, I would have to take a gap year. So yeah, and I was worried that like coming back, people would like judge me, or I'd be like, or they would like wouldn't understand. But I actually went to like an open house at the University of Chicago like last week. And whenever the gap year came up, it was always like, oh my God, that's so exciting. Like I'm jealous. I wish I had done that. It was never like, oh, like why did you take that year? Or like, oh, like why'd you take a break? It was always people like curious as to like what I did and like all the exciting opportunities I had during the year.
So in the fall, I'm going to be attending University of Wisconsin La Crosse, and I did do my college apps during the gap year. I would say it wasn't as stressful as I thought it was going to be, because I like time managed myself pretty well, but I do wish I didn't do them during the gap year, because then I would have like a lot more time and I wouldn't be stressing about college apps when I'm in Rome wanting to like experience Rome, having fun in Rome. But I got it done, and I wouldn't say it's the worst thing in the world, but I definitely would agree with Jared and try and get them done beforehand, so you can just not worry about anything during your gap year and just enjoy yourself instead of worrying about college, because you're on your gap year to be on your gap year, not worry about the next step or worry about college. So yeah.
Perfect. Thank you guys for sharing. That's super helpful too. So, all right, let's talk about the year. This is all the planning, and this is a big topic. So thank you guys for spending some time on this. Now, we know that the year is set up really in two halves, just like an academic year. Fall, you've got your winter break, and then spring semester to wrap it up. The fall is big. There's a lot that happens there. You guys started in Boston. You jump into 2 weeks of European immersion, your language module and service, both 6 weeks long. Let's just start like Boston into European immersion. how do you summarize like what's going on? Like what's going on through your head? What are you doing? Like, how would you guys describe that?
Chaotic for sure. I mean, you're meeting all these amazing people, and it's like, don't get me wrong, amazing time, loved every minute of it. But especially like the immersion, it was in Europe and in Ecuador. Like the whole point of immersion is like you're gonna see as much as you can in these weeks. So it's like really nonstop doing as much as you can. Like we took a red eye to Paris, and like it was a few hours after we landed in the airport, we were doing the walking tour. We were walking up the hill to a cathedral so we could see all this, the entire city. Like you are nonstop. But at the same time, you're spending like 18 hours a day with all these people, which is like more time than you spend with anybody. So at the same time, you are just forming all of these amazing relationships that are and just getting started too.
Yeah, it's like so quick. Like you have like a prep in Boston that like that prepares you a little bit for what's to come, but then like it's like, and then you're like suddenly like over the ocean and you're in Paris and you're like jet lagged. And it's I would say European immersion was probably the most exhilarating and exhausting thing I've like ever done in my life. Like you're meeting all these new people, like you're seeing all these new things, and it's just so quick. Like you're living out of your suitcase. But it's so exciting. Like you could, and like that's probably like I have so many amazing memories from immersion, just like being at the top of the Eiffel Tower, like seeing the Mona Lisa in person. It's just like it's crazy, like the things you see. It's like the things you see in movies. And then once you finally like kind of transition off immersion, you're like so ready to like settle down in your language. So it's like I think it's like it's really exhilarating and tiring, but it's like the perfect amount of time because it's only 2 weeks. So at the end of it, you're like, I got to see like a bunch of cool things, but I'm ready to settle down a little bit.
Boston and European immersion just felt like a whirlwind. Like looking back at it now, I'm like, wait, we did all of that in one day? Like that was just one day of my program that I did where it was like Hunter said, like seeing the Mona Lisa, you know, seeing the Eiffel Tower, like things like that. And then it's like, okay, you hop on a train and go to Nice, and then things like that. And it was just like so many things happen, like you don't realize it like when it's happening, but you look back and it's like, oh my god, like I really did all that, and that really happened to me. Like I was in Europe, like that was cool, it was great, you know, it was just like such a crazy experience to go through. And
It was like a dream.
yeah, it feels like a dream. Definitely.
Yeah, it was exhausting, but it was worth it because so we were in Paris one day, the next day we're in Nice, and then we're in Barcelona, then we're in Madrid, and it's just like it's a lot. And there are going to be days during those 2 weeks where you just don't want to get up out of bed, but it's worth it to get up because you're going to be seeing all these amazing things. And then your tour directors have like the best intentions for you. They're so excited for you to be in Europe. It's like some people like had their first time in Europe and they're like, you have to see everything, you have to see all these things. And like they're just like, go, go, go. And it's gonna be exhausting at sometimes, but it's definitely so worth it to just get out and go see everything.
You guys are doing an amazing job telling some cool stories along the way. This is super fun. Okay, so European immersion happens. Like you said, whirlwind, lots happening. You're meeting people. It's sort of designed to be fast paced so that you are getting a lot in a short period of time. Then you move into language immersion. Now, I don't know if this is how you all felt, but I think we get a lot of questions about like, what is that? What am I actually doing? Like, what's the setup there? So we know, so we had Anna and Rachel were both in Rome. Hunter was in Malaga. Jared was in Nice. Can you guys give us like, what does your day look like? What's going on during language immersion? What are your language classes like? Paint a picture of what's happening for us there.
Okay, so um, basically you would have 2 classes a day for us in Rome. I know it was somewhat different in every other place, but in Rome we would have 1 hour of class, and then we would have like a 30-minute, and sometimes we would have an hour break. And then we would go back to class for another hour, and then you would just have the rest of your day. But sometimes the classes were in the morning and then you would have the rest of your day, or they were a little bit later in the day and you would have a free morning. And usually like after, in between class, or maybe even after class, if it was a morning class, like either Anna and I or like some of like just the Rome students would go get lunch because the school in Rome is right next to the Pantheon. It's right around the corner. So we would go get lunch around there, and then we would like, you have so much free time. It's like not classes are not like a normal school day like in the US. It would be just one class a day, and then you would go and, you know, do whatever you wanted. You could go see anything. And yeah.
Rachel, could you maybe just quickly touch? I heard that you tried a couple cooking classes.
Yeah, I
Rome.
did.
Talk a little bit about that.
So I took a pizza class and I took a pasta class, and if I cannot tell you, like this is the most amazing pizza I've ever had. Of course, it's of course it's like in Rome, but like it was so good, and like they taught you everything, like what ingredients you needed, and like I even made the pizza at home during Christmas, and my family loved it. And the pasta class, like it was just like you got so many different kinds of pasta. You had like pesto, you had like red sauce, and you had like it was just so good. And everything was hands-on, and like everyone got to do their own thing. They made whatever kind of pasta they wanted, whatever pizza they wanted. Like you got to put your own toppings on it. It was so fun. And it was offered by the school too. So you could go through the school and then do the class that way. And it only took like an hour. So it's not like much of your day is being taken up by these classes. So
That's awesome. Anna, maybe you could tack on to some of your Rome experience. And I think if you guys can maybe just highlight the living, the accommodations, and what that was like for you as well.
Yeah, so I was in a host family. It was this apartment in Rome. It was about a 30-minute transport on by bus to the school. And my host mom was this really, really sweet Italian lady. She had lived in Rome her entire life. And I got to live with several other EF students. Because the EF school is not just like EF gap year students, it is like international students coming to learn Italian. So my roommate was from Sweden, and then I was with another girl on the EF gap year program, and her roommate was from Belgium. So we really got to meet people from all different cultures. And like Rachel said, you kind of like, well, for me, because I was in a host family, Rachel was in actually the residence halls. So it's kind of like dorms a little bit. I did like my transportation. I got to school. There's this really cute, amazing, I miss it every day of my life, coffee bar next to the school called X Bar. And the owner actually ended up learning my name. We became best friends. I have a selfie somewhere on my phone of him and me on our last day together in Rome before I went to service. And you get to class and you do like Rachel explained, like the couple hours, and then you really just have time off. A lot of people would go back to their host families or go back to the residence or go to the Coliseum or go to a museum or things like that. But the accommodations are really amazing. It is so different from how we live in the US. And so getting able to explore that was just the coolest thing ever. And somebody in the chat asked as well, how'd you find out about the cooking class? The school actually, you'll like download this EF app when you get to your language, and they have things you can do like constantly that you can pay for. Usually it's like pretty cheap, like $10 or even free to go do like a cooking class, or they do sometimes trips to Florence or Venice. And so they definitely, the school runs a lot of different things you can do to get you active.
Awesome. Jared and Hunter, do you guys, what other notes do you want to add about language?
Yeah, I mean, I guess like the big thing is like I would like to like add on to the accommodations. Like you get breakfast and dinner. I was in Sevilla, Spain. I mean, sorry, Malaga, Spain for my language study, and my host mom was from Valencia, which is where paella was invented. So one night she made me like paella, and it was literally the best paella I'd had in my entire life. Like it was so good, and I had a paella at least like a dozen times like throughout like the gap year. It was nothing compared. It was just so good. But yeah, in terms of like the language classes themselves, they're very different than the classes that you have in like your traditional school, or at least that I had in my school. Like they teach you for like, I was relatively advanced, but they teach you like really important like practical conversation skills that I like never learned in school. Like I was in like an AP level Spanish class, but I would be like scared to talk to like a native Spanish speaker before this trip. But they teach you like so many like important like phrases and like sentence structures in these classes. Like I think it really like almost brought me to fluency, like just with these like 6 weeks, because they taught me so many like important like skills. So I would say that like these classes are really different and like a unique opportunity.
Yeah, just sort of to add on to that, and what Anna and Rachel were talking about, I think the biggest thing to remember is that this is not high school. You know, you're not in class for 8 hours a day. You don't have a 20-minute, 30-minute lunch period. You know, you're an adult and you're in a foreign country. So I mean, I had class it was a little bit different. We had our core language classes, which would be for in total like 3 hours a day. So I would go in at like 8 and I'd be done by like 11:30, like 11:10. My classes sometimes were 8:20 to 11:10 or 1:20 to like 3:40. So it was like 2 hours and 40 minutes pretty much. But and then 2 days a week we had like spin classes, which sometimes you had. So I was in a spin grammar class, but like it all depends about the level that you're in. So I see somebody ask
Jared, spin meaning special interest, not like Soul Cycle.
No, yeah, not Soul Cycle. Yeah, no, not Soul Cycle. And I see somebody asked, you know, how was it to communicate? Did I have a strong background? So I've been taking French since middle school, and I knew that like I wanted to be in France. I wanted to improve my French. So for me, it wasn't as bad. And the first day you get there to the language school, you have a like very short conversation and a sample class, basically to test your knowledge and your skills. And from there, they're going to put you in a level. So first I was put into like B1, which was way too difficult for me. I don't know why they thought I could do that. But you like, they're so helpful. Like you go to the front desk and you say, yeah, this is just too difficult. I want to switch down. It's not a problem. And the rest of the time I just went down one level and it was great. And I improved my French and I was able to go to restaurants and everything like that. I was totally fine. As for my accommodations, they were a bit different than Anna's and like than all of that. I stayed with a host family, and again, like in Europe, they live really different than how we do here. So the apartment was pretty small. Me and my roommate, we shared a pretty small room, and my host actually had 2 kids. He was divorced, but he had 2 kids that were there every other week. So they slept in the second bedroom, and my host actually slept on a futon in the living room. So that was a bit different. And about the curfews, he never set a curfew, but he was a police officer and he went to work in the morning. So it was okay to come back late, just, you know, try and be quiet when you go in. His food was great. He actually lived in the US for a while. So he spoke fluent English. And I think another thing to remember is that EF does a great job. All these schools are really centrally located. So in Nice, it was straight 2 blocks to the beach. And it was, you go like 5 minutes in the other direction and you're on like the main street in Nice where there's all these restaurants, all these stores. Like it's really like great location. Even in Rome, I visited Rome and I saw where the school was. Like they're all in such great locations. They're all such really centrally located. My apartment where I was staying wasn't that close. I had to use the trams to get in. It only took like a half hour to get to the school, but something to remember is that when I was going out at night, the trams in Nice stop at like midnight. So if I wanted to go out and I didn't want to have to walk home, which, you know, was never fun, I kind of had to leave by like 11:30, 11:45. But, and I see someone just asked if you have class every day. So yeah, you do have class every day, but again, it's like 3 days a week I had for 3 hours a day. And then 2 days, it was 4.5 hours a day. But I always had like a 2-hour break between that second class. And as for the schedule, just to touch on that a little bit, every week looks the same, but the day switches. So like Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I always had the morning classes from 8:10 to 1:40 or whatever, or to 12:10 or whatever it was. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays, I had them in the afternoon. So, but that always left me time to, again, go grab lunch at the beach. There was this cafe nearby, like in Rome, there was a cafe. I got really close with this lady who ran the cafe. She only spoke French. So that was a great way for me to practice. So yeah, that was a lot, but there's just all these different questions to answer.
Jared and Anna, the coffee lovers. I love that.
And you do not have class on the
Sure.
weekend either, which gives you a good opportunity to travel
Yeah.
outside of your city if you'd like to.
And again, the
Yeah,
food
there.
in Nice, like so good.
Yeah. So everyone has language. I'm going to keep us moving here too, just because there's still a lot to get to. We're getting down on our time here. So maybe you guys can touch as we talk about service. I think I know Hunter, you had an important moment. The service really stood out to you. I think if everybody could highlight, something that was either meaningful or a highlight in service, and maybe you can touch on a little bit. Part of the year is being able to transition, right? Like you're in Nice or in Rome or in Malaga, and then now you're in Costa Rica and you're living much differently. You're with the same group, you're traveling, you're with your field director. So maybe if you could touch on like, what was that transition like going from language to service? And then what was like a really cool moment or a highlight in service? And maybe Hunter, would you mind starting off for us?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess like by the end of language, you really kind of feel like that city is like a home in some ways. So it is kind of bittersweet, especially if you get close to your host mom. I got pretty close to her. Like she still texts me like every holiday saying like, oh, like Happy New Year, like stuff like that. So it is kind of bittersweet, like saying goodbye, like yeah, and then you just kind of leave and you're gone. Um, and then when I first got in the DR, it's like such a huge transition because in language you have a lot of free time, but during service, like everything's really scheduled. Like you kind of have like a schedule for every day. Like I maybe had 1 or 2 days where we had a good amount of free time, but for the most part, you're like on it. You're doing this really hard work. I was in the DR, so it was hot and humid all the time. But yeah, there are definitely like really beautiful moments. Like I was talking about before, when we monitored manatees. This was in Bahibe, there's this organization called Fundamar, which basically helps with like coral reef conservation, marine life conservation. A beautiful, beautiful place, like right on the coast. Like everything was walking distance to the organization and the boats that we would take to go monitor. So yeah, like one day it was like on the plan to monitor manatees. So they have like a tracker tied to this manatee. I think this one's name was, they have names for them. They're monitoring 3 of them. This one's name was Pepe. So yeah, like basically like we follow like the tracker like to this little kind of like canal. And the tracker's like pretty precise, but not like pinpoint exact. So we were all like, everybody on the group was like looking all across like over the edge of the boat, like trying to find this like little white and red thing that was like popping out of the water. And then like when you finally find it, it's like this like huge thing of like joy because it's like you've been looking all day, you've been like in the hot sun, and it was just like so cool. Like I'd never seen a manatee before, and to be like that close to one in the wild was just like insane. And basically what we were doing is like this one was in captivity, but they were transitioning it to have it released in the wild, so they wanted to make sure like it wasn't losing too much weight and that was breathing all right. So like what we had to do is like count how many breaths it took in like 30 minutes or something like that. So yeah, it's just like you have so many of those like beautiful little moments like during service that like even though it's like a rough transition, it's a lot of hard work. Like it's so like beautiful and just like such a wonderful thing.
So Rachel, would you mind maybe jumping in? And you were in the DR too, so maybe you can talk about your transition and highlights there.
Yeah, so in transitioning from Rome to the DR, I was asking everybody in Rome, are you going to DR? Are you going to DR? One other person out of our group of like 14 was going to the DR. So I had to like surround myself with completely new people who were in different places. So like that one person and I just went to the DR together while everybody else went to Costa Rica. And so like luckily I had made friends that were in different places that were in Boston. So it was okay. Like I was okay. And also like the time change, like you're going from Europe to another half of the world. Like it's a little hard adjusting to the times, but you'll like once you get moving and everything and doing service in DR, like you'll be fine. So but one thing that I really loved about doing our service is like the first 2 weeks we worked with kids, and Hunter and I did PE, and we're out in the sun playing with these kids, and we were like their favorite game was like they loved the Squid game.
red light, green light.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
the red light, green light. And just seeing the smile on these kids' faces as we would say that we were playing that game, it's something that like just brightened my day. Like I just loved seeing the joy that these kids had when we played with them. And it was so awesome getting to see these people, these kids having so much fun when we were there.
So I was going to Costa Rica for my service like Anna was, but we were actually in different groups. There was 3 different groups in Costa Rica. And I think the best part was really the people. Like there are definitely certain days that stand out to me as like, oh yeah, that was a great day. But looking back, like what made it such a great day was the people I was with. Like these are going to be your best friends. And I was actually lucky enough that like 3 of my best friends from Nice were in my group in Costa Rica. But besides that, again, the groups were definitely bigger because we were with COVID, like a few of us were supposed to go to Thailand or Tanzania or Peru, and those 3 destinations got canceled. So a lot of us then had, the groups were definitely much larger than they would have been, but that actually ended up great because you have all of these people like Costa Rica, again, is probably my favorite module just because of everyone I was with. That was when I had the largest group, and besides the immersions, but like that was just really great. There's days that stand out, like when we were working with sea turtles, like we would catch like 1 or 2 sea turtles in the entire day we were sitting on the beach. So when you're not doing stuff with the sea turtles, you are hanging out on the beach with your friends, eating snacks, listening to music, But something that was really great about Costa Rica and that my group was lucky, we stayed in San Jose for like a week and a half right at the beginning. So we were actually lucky we go to this place called the University of Peace. And you spend the entire day doing these bonding exercises and communication. And while I was friends with all these people before, like this really helped bring our group closer together right at the beginning. The other 2 groups in Costa Rica had to do this later, which obviously I know they all had a great time there and I know they all had a great experience, but doing it so early on, like really just brought us all closer together and allowed us, for the rest of the 6 weeks to just be ourselves. And like, we knew we all had this amazing support system. Again, like all these people are going through the same thing you are. You're going to have tough days. And if you really need to, of course, there's going to be times you're like, I can't do it. I just need to take a break for today. Like it's so much work. I just need to take a break and that's fine. But all these people with you, like they are your biggest supporters and they are the ones who are going to help, get you out there and have just really an amazing experience.
Yeah, I miss Costa Rica on a daily basis. Like I think about it constantly. I want to go back so badly. The transition was definitely difficult at first, but you kind of get to your end of 6 weeks of service, or not service, of language. And for me, I felt like I was like ready to go. I was ready to jump into something new, have new experiences, meet new people. The travel day from the Costa Rica was probably like the worst day of my life.
We're not going to talk about it, Anna.
We're not going to talk about it. It was the longest day ever. Jared and I were struggling together.
4.5
definitely.
hours in the customs line.
Yeah. But immediately we walked out of the airport. We got to meet our wonderful tour directors who are with you 24/7 the entirety of those 6 weeks. Mine was Walter, and I know Jared had Freddie, and they were very different from each other, but they were still like, they become your best friends. Like that's like the biggest thing that sticks out to me. I actually broke my toe at the end of Costa Rica. I slipped and fell at a hotel and just like crushed it against this door. I didn't know that I broke it until I got home, but Walter, my tour guide, was there within like minutes with ice. He was wrapping it. Like he let me take the day off the next day. And that's like something that like just I think about so often. He just like gave me so much kindness, and you really do become just like best friends with your tour directors. Like, and I know Rosie for Hunter and Rachel, they love Rosie. They talk about her for the DR all the time. And you like hear these stories. Like I didn't have any of their tour directors. I had Walter, but I hear about Freddie constantly. I hear about Rosie. It's just like so great to get to know them.
Something else about the tour directors too, just like quick add on, totally agree. Like, especially Freddie, like we all loved Freddie. Anna's heard too many stories about Freddie, but what was really great, like these tour directors, they're looking out for you. They want what's best for you. They want to make sure you have the best time possible. And if you need them, like they're there and they're there to help. But at the same time, like Freddie, there were times, we had a free time. We had a free night. So we go out, and he would go out with us. We would pull pranks on him, he'd pull pranks on us. He's like your fun uncle. He's there. He cares about you, and he's there when you need him. But if you're having a good time, he's gonna mess with you a bit, and you're gonna mess with him.
Amazing. All right, we're going to ask for, in the interest of time, we definitely need to hear about internship and wrap up. So maybe everybody can try to give us a little bit of their express. How do you sum up internship in a quick period of time? I don't really know, but maybe you guys can just tell us, what was internship like? If you want to highlight maybe what you were doing, but really like, what was that experience like, and the city that you were living in? Of course, that has a lot to do with what the experience was.
Yeah, so I guess I can start. Sevilla was like beautiful, like so much beautiful architecture. There was like this beautiful downtown area with so many restaurants, so many shops. My internship was in downtown. I was a teacher's assistant at this little school called Connecta Idiomas. It wasn't like a day school. It was like to supplement like kids like three, even like as young as like 3 all the way to like 13, and some adults like their English after school. Yeah, and I guess my biggest takeaway is that you get out what you put in. Like I was an assistant teacher, so I could have just kind of like stood there and like said hi to the kids. But like I always offered to help like lesson plan. Like sometimes I would like start the class for them. I would ask the teacher if I could do that just to like improve my Spanish speaking skills and stuff like that. So yeah, and then by the end of it, like my boss, she actually offered to give me like a reference. Like I didn't even have to ask her. So yeah, like if you put a lot into it, you'll get a lot out of it. And beyond the internship itself, you do have a lot of free time, or at least I did, because I only worked in afternoons. So I worked like from like usually like 3 to like 6 or 7-ish. So yeah, like you can do like a lot of weekend trips if you want to, like see the city and stuff like that. So yeah, I guess for the internship, like it really is what you put into it.
So I was also in Sevilla with Hunter, but I can 100% say my experience was really different. I loved the city itself, beautiful, agree with all that, great food. Tapas was actually invented there, so there's all of these amazing tapas restaurants. But my internship itself, while it was with a very similar company called the English Connection, like they teach English to students and adults, like everything like that. My company itself was a bit dysfunctional. They were just really disorganized. And the one guy that we were working for, he was the CEO of the company, but he was doing all of these other projects, and we were working on all of these other projects with him when we actually had work, which was actually very rare. They were very, like, they did not communicate with us like at all, really. And there were some people some people had the same job as me, and there were some of us who thought, oh yeah, it's great, we don't have that much work, we have all this free time. And I mean, it is great, and I took advantage of that. I was able to take a trip in the middle of the week. I took a quick 2-day trip to Portugal with a friend instead of having to go. I didn't have that much. I just had all these different weekend plans, so it was great to be able to go during the week. But at the same time, like, I wanted to get a really good experience at this. This is this is also the most independent portion of the gap year. You do in Sevilla, you have a roommate, but depending on where you are living in an apartment by yourself. You are grocery shopping all on your own. You are preparing your meals. You are commuting to work. It's all by yourself, besides the people that you're with in your apartment or in your building. But it's definitely, there were times where it was a struggle for sure. Not in, again, having kind of an internship that was difficult to work with. And there was actually another intern that was brought in separately, just who went to school in Spain, not with EF at all. And she was doing all of this work, basically running this guy's business. So the internship itself, I mean, again, Hunter had a great experience, and I know there's so many people in Sevilla who had a great experience. But again, it's again, agreeing with Hunter, it's what you make of it. So again, my internship wasn't great, and I had a lot of free time where I was like, I have to figure out something to do. But then, you go to Portugal and you figure out stuff to do in the city, So there's definitely pros and cons, but it is totally what you put into it.
I was in Dublin, and I would agree with Jared. It's the most independent module, And it was really tough at times, but luckily I was roommates with Anna and 3 other people in our apartment. And we would have like dinners every night just to catch up on our day and everything. We would, get our feelings out about the day and how, like, if our internships went well, if our internships didn't go well that day. And we were all lucky to just have each other to bounce off of, because if if I was in Jared or Hunter's situation with one roommate, it would be hard because, maybe that roommate wouldn't want to talk or anything. But luckily I was put into such a fortunate situation with like the apartment and how all of us were so close, and we got so close over um the 6 weeks. And for me, my internship, it wasn't the best thing in the world, but luckily the coworkers made up for it. And like we went out to lunch a couple of times. I was basically like I worked at a I had a computer desk job for like a construction company that overlooked other companies. And I would answer calls, do emails. I worked 9 to 4, which was like, it was fine. Like I had to wake up early. I kind of had to wake up early, and then I got the rest of the day off. But I ended up getting a reference letter at the end of it, so it was worth it, I think. So yeah, and also I would definitely say like this is the part of the gap year that you want to keep your eye on your money the most, because you have to pay for your own food, you have to pay for all your toiletries and everything on your own. And so I just be mindful of your money and what you're spending on, just so you don't have to like worry about everything during that module. So yeah.
Yeah, my internship was with the Tanzanian Chamber of Commerce. So I did work with, I was the sales and marketing intern. So I sat in on a lot of Zoom meetings about just like startup companies in Africa. So it was really an interesting point of view to get to see like the business world in Dublin, not only in Dublin, but in African commerce as well, which was really cool to see. And for us, they would give us like just like a 2 or 3 like big projects, and they'd give you like a week or 2 to work on it. And so I could work on it just kind of whenever I liked, which I was really happy about. It was nice to like go with my own flow and things like that. And like Rachel said, I had the best roommate situation in the entire world. We would do like Taco Tuesdays. We started, binge watching Netflix shows together that we got super into. We'd go out together. We'd travel together. So I really just had like the best roommates ever. And that's like just like my main takeaway from internship was just the so much fun that I had with those girls.
Amazing highlights from all of you. And I think internship, we know, can be tricky. It's certainly, as you all said, it's independent, and you do have to put in the work to get the most. And at the end of the day, the goal is for it to be an experience, right? So, for Rachel, like having that maybe more desk job, hopefully it helps give you some perspective of like, does that work for you? Or do you maybe want to think about something else in the future, and how do you get there, right? And for Jared, like getting more of that experience of seeing that chaos to say like, okay, I don't want to be involved in something like that moving forward if I can in the future. So amazing. Hey, you guys have been so fantastic. I just want to note to our audience tonight that this crew has been, really standout stars throughout the year. They've been caring group members, looking out for the rest of their students. They've been challenging themselves. They've really pushed themselves to show up when they're tired, when they're, hungry, really no matter what, to get the most out of their experience. And we think that they really embody a lot of what a lot of our students do, but especially at the top of that, to really make this something that will stick with them forever. So I want to throw it back. Last question for everybody tonight. Really, it's what's in your heart, but what are you walking away from this year with? And I know and again, just for reference, it's only been about a week and a half since everyone's been home. So I'm sure it's still like just getting used to that. But like, what is your either biggest takeaway or main takeaways, or what are you really walking away from this year with?
The stories. And I mean, you've heard us talking, we've gone over the time we were supposed to say and we were supposed to go until, and I mean, we could probably all talk about our gap year for the amount of time we were on the gap year. There are countless memories. There are just so, again, like just thinking about the year we've had, none of it feels real, but it was. And it was just such an amazing experience. And I really I hope that everyone here like decides that they should take a gap year. I know in the future I'm making my kids take gap years and traveling, because this was just such an amazing experience. And even during those tough days, like, it's going to get better. There's all these people around you that are just so amazing. And like, these are friends that you've made that I like for life. Like, I'm making plans to go out and visit friends in May. I have a bunch of friends coming for my birthday in June. It's just the people you meet and the experience you have, like, is just like invaluable. And just like, you're going to remember this for the rest of your life as just like, I can't even explain it. It's just it's just amazing.
I would definitely say that I'm very proud of myself for like taking and making that decision to go on this gap year, because it was scary at the beginning, but like I am just so happy that I did it, because I gained a lot of new experiences and like just so many things I've wanted to do, because I've always wanted to travel when I was like younger, and I did it and I was able to and got to see so many different places. And I'm still processing it now. Like, it's been a week and a half since I've gotten home, and like I'm just like, wow, I really just did that. Like, it's just so unreal, and I'm so happy that I did it. And I don't know. It's just so nice to think that I'd spent all that time in so many different places, and yeah.
Yeah, I guess if there's like one takeaway that I would say is like, take advantage of like all the opportunities that are in front of you. Like, you're only like young for so long, like like being able to like hike in the Amazon and stuff like that, and just like enjoying the little things. Like there are so many like beautiful moments in there, like countless, like the Eiffel Tower, like seeing the beautiful like coast of France, like snorkeling with like 6 sea turtles just like right around us in the Galapagos. Like really like enjoy like the little things. And even if you decide for like whatever reason like this program isn't right for you, like the importance of like traveling and like seeing new people, meeting new people, seeing new cultures, exploring new places, like that is so important. Like you will take so much away from that. So yeah, I guess those would be my takeaways. And I promise you, like taking this, like you won't regret if you decide to take this year, take EF gap year, you will not regret it. I promise you that.
EF gap year has been genuinely like the biggest gateway drug to traveling you could ever do in your whole life. I've had like everyone said, like Hunter said, like 6 sea turtles in the Galapagos and you're snorkeling right next to them, like the greatest experiences of my life. But I've also been like trapped in an elevator in Barcelona like for an hour. So it's like these stark contrasts of like the highest and the lowest things. But I can't wait to get back out there. I want to go to Thailand. I want to go to Costa Rica again. I want to travel so badly, and EF really opened and broadened my horizons so much. And the most amazing thing is now I have the best and coolest travel companions I could ever wish for, because now I know I could text Rachel and all my roommates and be like, oh, can we go to Amsterdam? Can we plan that? Or even just like talking about doing other EF trips, which I have discussed with other people that have been on the trip. So it's just so great that, you really get this like travel bug that bites you, and then you have all these people around you who want to continuously travel with you.
I just want to like add on a quick thought like that I've noticed. All of us are like stumbling to come up with the words to describe this gap year, because the experience is just, you can't explain it. It's like it's like when you are in a national park and you see like it's so pretty, like the picture doesn't capture it. Like we cannot explain how amazing this year was. Like through all of the troubles, which again there will be, you push through them. Like this is like, again, even now, like I cannot come up with the words to explain how amazing of an experience this was. Again, swimming with sea turtles, and then all over the Galapagos, there's sea lions all over the place barking at you. Like it is just like what you will experience on this year is like nothing else you will ever do in your life. It's just, yeah.
So true, Jared. And it's really hard to put into words. And I think, moving forward for the 4 of you and for the rest of your group, and, hopefully for future students that join the program, now it becomes, how do you take everything that you were doing on your gap year and bring it to your life every day, right? How do you take the exploring that like you found in a new city and bring that to home or to a new school or to a new job that you're at, and really make the most of those moments and connect with the people that you're around and live like you're on your gap year, right? You guys know what is possible. You know what that high feels like, and you sort of have a superpower to be able to go and seek that in different areas and to be able to make those moments happen again. So, we can't thank you enough for giving up your time tonight. It's amazing to hear these stories. I hope we can do this again too, because I think we've got some more stories to get into. We might have to bring some more of the roommates in and share talk some more about Freddie and Walter and some more of our friends from all over the globe. But for tonight, we're gonna wrap up. We're gonna encourage everybody to connect with their gap year consultant. Our gap year consultants work typical hours. So if you haven't heard from them tonight, they'll probably be back in 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. And for all of our alumni, we hope to speak with you again soon. We thank you for your stories. And we hope to hear some more in your next adventure very soon. Awesome, everybody. You guys have a great night. Thank you all.